Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. I want to talk, as we start hour number 2, about a couple of LSU Tigers and their stocks kind of going in a little bit of a different direction. One of them may be moving significantly. The other, I do not believe to be moving significantly, but it feels like based on the Vegas odds, it is moving a little bit backwards. That is Brian Thomas. Now, don't misunderstand me, please. I'm not suggesting Brian Thomas is sliding to 46 in the draft. No. I expect him off the board tomorrow. But when he ran his time at the Combine, we all kind of sat back and went, whoa. Like, really? 4.33? One of the fastest times in the Combine? And you start to look at the measurables. He's every bit as tall as Marvin Harrison Jr. or Rome Odunze at 6'3". He's taller than Malik Neighbors. He's got that length, the speed. He's got a better 40 time than Rome Odunze. The production, he led the country in touchdowns. Like all these things you start to tick off. You're going, this is a guy that's going to be potentially ticketed towards the top 20 in the draft. I mean, we had conversations early on about whether or not the Saints might be interested because we know at some point they're going to need to deal with pass catching. But Vegas has backed those odds up. Now, that could be for a number of reasons. It could be because they're hearing something. It could be because there's buzz that so many people are going up to get offensive tackles and pass rushers and quarterbacks that wide receiver gets pecked down a little bit. It could be because there's a medical issue. Jimmy Ott on Live at Lunch hinted at that yesterday, saying there potentially could be something that was found during the medicals. And Brian Thomas has been pretty healthy at LSU. He missed a little time, but he's been pretty healthy. And running a 4.33 seems pretty healthy to me. So my sincere hope is that that's just some misinformation and that someone is going to fall in love with Brian Thomas somewhere right around 15, 18, 19, and then he is a mid-first round pick. But in any event, even if he does back up from what could have been 18 to somewhere around 25, that is a hit in the wallet for Brian Thomas. But I think still a feather in his cap to go in the first round of the NFL draft, especially when you consider that he was lined up opposite of another guy who's going in the first round of the NFL draft. Does help when another guy that's going in the first round of the NFL draft was throwing the ball to both of you. We get that at this point. But we'll see something to monitor with Brian Thomas, like what does that stock look like as things happen. The other guy that's moving up significantly is Maason Smith. And I am all for that. I think it's awesome. If Maason Smith goes in the top 40 picks of this draft, I think that's fantastic for him, for his family. What an opportunity. But I'm here to offer analysis, and it is a little bit puzzling. And I'll tell you why, and it's for, I think, a lot of the reasons that you already know. Like, if you're looking at the quote-unquote boxes to check, does Maason Smith's film explode off the screen? No. There's not a lot from his freshman year. There's none from his sophomore year. And he was pretty quiet on a bad defense, not his fault, as a junior. Like, the film's not going to be overwhelming. Production, that's kind of in the same vein, although a little bit different, because you can produce at the college level without showing the flashes that NFL scouts and GMs are looking for. But no, he wasn't overly productive at LSU. Again, because he didn't play that much as a freshman and didn't play at all as a sophomore and was on a bad defense that wasn't overly productive as a junior. Well, what about the medical? Well, he tore his ACL on a freak injury, but that is a torn ACL on a very, very big man. And then he comes back for camp as a junior in the fall and gets a lower extremity injury, whether it was foot, ankle, I can't even remember. But that cost him a little bit of time. So you can't really check that because it's two different injuries on two different seasons that cost him different amounts of time. And to bowl all that together, they were both leg injuries. So we're 0 for 3 there, and we settle on what you already know. It's the size. And this goes back to my point, like that I talk about all the time, that's not nearly earth-shattering opinion making, but it just is what it is. Like, guys that are 6'6", 315 that can move a bit and are strong as an ox just are very difficult to find. And Maason Smith is one of those. If you would have told me when he declared back in, what was that, December, January, I don't remember when Maason Smith decided he was done. I think it was after the bowl game. In fact, I feel comfortable saying it was after the bowl game. If you would have told me what round's he going to go in, I would have said, first of all, I really don't have a good range on this, but I'll throw a guess out there. I'll say he's a 5th round pick. I'll say somebody takes a flyer on Maason Smith in the 5th round because 5th round picks don't hit that often, but he's got a really high ceiling as a 5th round pick. And now I would be flatline stunned if he got to the 4th round. And that's based not on film watching, which I do think a lot of the talking heads that have watched more Jaden Daniels over the last 3 months than they had previously have moved him up. That doesn't mean that the NFL scouts have been that late to the party, but that's the case with film study, and there's not a lot of that that's going to pop for Maason Smith, and it's not like he's showing that he's healthy. Like, he's not coming off a major knee injury. That was back almost 2 years ago. It's just, I think, the potential that people are talking about. Now, all that stuff I feel very comfortable in talking to you about. Size, production, medicals, all that stuff. As far as defensive fit, that's where you start to have me draw back. I'm not an expert on bare fronts and over fronts, 3-4s, 4-3s. That stuff is beyond me in this chair. But what it strikes me as is there's a specific style of defense that needs this specific skill set. And as I just mentioned, this specific skill set is very hard to come by. And it's worth giving it a shot earlier than later. And it feels like now that Maason Smith's going to be a top 50 pick. Now, I said when he declared, I think this is a big financial mistake. Because there's nothing to be drafted off of. And it's not like baseball where you lose your leverage coming back. They're going to pay you what they pay you based on the slot when you get in the NFL draft. I hope he proves me wrong. I hope a team proves me wrong. Likely on Friday. That's the goal. That's one where I don't want to be right. But I am here to give you what I think. And at that time, I was looking at all the things that I know about the NFL draft, and Maason Smith wasn't checking any boxes. But he may have checked the most important one, where Brian Thomas may have a check in the negative on a medical. Maason Smith may check the box in terms of the size on the interior defensive line. The teams just can't ignore. But we'll find out. We think Jaden's locked in at 2. We think Malik's not locked in the top 10. And then where does Brian Thomas fall in the next 15, 20 picks? And what's next for Maason Smith? Fascinating stuff from an LSU football perspective with the NFL draft, and we're certainly fired up to be talking about it here over the next couple of days. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.